What up, y'all? Appreciate you showing up, hanging out, listening to my dumb ass. Like and subscribe. So, it seems that Forespoken was such hot trash garbage of a game. Such hot trash garbage of a game that Square Enix, is basically shutting down the studio. Now, what they're actually doing is reabsorbing them like an amoeba, like Luminous Studios here, and then Square Enix said, and then it's all Final Fantasy from here. You know what I'm saying? So they reabsorbed them back into the Final Fantasy, or Square Enix proper. I don't know what their thing is, what it's called, but so Luminous Studios no longer exists to make games because Forespoken was such hot trash garbage. Now, I'm not gonna say, when I say it's hot trash garbage or such hot trash garbage, of course it's hyperbole, but I'm saying it for a purpose. I'm saying it for a reason, because you don't close that down a studio. They didn't close the studio. Well, they closed the studio, but they didn't fire anybody. So that's what the reabsorbing is. So best case scenario, nobody got fired. Worst case scenario, Luminous Studios doesn't exist anymore. They can't make a Forespoken again. More Forespoken than this. No Forespoken 2. Forespoken was so bad that the studio shut down. How do you spin that? I want to see. You notice that there hasn't been any talk about that, right? On the Pony side, on the Donkey Unicorn side, they didn't say nothing about it. They're not talking about, because this is why. No spinning. Just ignore the bad news. That's over there. Oh no, that's not that. Yeah. But that happens on Xbox. Like, this Lionhead shuts down. I mean, it's different because they literally closed the studio. But I mean, the only difference, and it is a big difference, is that nobody lost their jobs, and that's cool. But it's an indication that Square Enix is still. The word is trifling. That's on my lips, but that's not the word that's proper. But they kind of trifling with how they're kind of treating Western flavored games, I guess, right? So Forespoken was a Western game, basically, that they did from one of their studios. So I think what Square Enix is learning from all of these failures is that Western games, A, they suck at it, B, they don't make them money, C, the only thing that makes them money are JRPGs like Final Fantasy and not Bravely Default. Did they do Bravely Default? I don't remember. But Octopath Traveler, I think that's them too. And tangent, the whole thing about I forgot who it was that said, it was the Final Fantasy dude, I think, who made a big deal about the phrase or the nomenclature of JRPGs and saying or claiming that it's racist. And you know what? That's the first time I ever heard anybody say the term JRPG is racist, or it has a negative connotation because of something. I'm like, no, JRPG denotes that your game has these certain type of mechanics, turn-based usually, based on the older games. Like the new Final Fantasies technically are JRPGs because they're produced from Japanese studios. That's what it was, but the name stuck because of the mechanics, because of the turn-based nature, because of the blue little thing with the white text in it. Sega made a bunch of JRPGs. Phantasy Star is a JRPG. It's just the type of game. You say, first-person shooter. Oh, that's racist. What you saying, the first-person shooter because America or something? That's how foolish that sounds. I don't care what games this creator has made. That was some dumb stuff. I'm censoring myself. I don't want to say too many curse words, because I don't want to be that guy to say the bad words. Although I want to say the bad words, but I don't think saying the bad words would provide any more clarity or insight or prove a point. Either way, you know what I'm talking about. It's foolish to claim racism on that. Now, you can say that there is expectation when you say JRPG. People are like, oh, it's like a turn-based, right? Or is it real time? You know, there's certain variations. You know, Grandia. That was a real time turn. It was real time, but it was like a time. I forgot what they call that. But that's not racist. It's a genre. Literally, it's a subgenre of RPG. You got Western RPG. You got JRPG. You want to call it an Eastern RPG? Is it less racist to say it that way? I don't think so, because it's not racist in the first place. So this dude talking about, oh, it's so racist. I do the racist thing. I don't do the racist thing. I say the racist thing like when somebody says something that's maybe construed as racism or racist. I say that's racist as a joke, basically. But I know what people are saying because they're kind of feeding into stereotypes, and that's really what it is. Unless it's just straight up racist, you know, that's a whole nother thing. But saying the term JRPG is not racist, and it's not a slight or a defamation of your product by saying that. And the fact that he's saying that it is doesn't make any sense to me. Now, maybe he has firsthand experience with it, or maybe somebody slighted him and said that, and I don't know what it is. I don't know how he can take the term JRPG and say that is racist. I don't understand. Leave it in it. Let me know in the comments to clarify, because I don't. You don't say, okay, what he's saying. So, yeah, that was. I mean, I'm sorry, I jumped from the racist thing to the JRPG back to Forespoken. Here we go. Yeah, Forespoken. Once again, another game / studio has succumbed to the Sony curse. There is a Sony curse. Y'all not paying attention, but there's a Sony curse. There's certain games that come out that like, oh, exclusive, Sony exclusive, and they fail hard. And you're thinking like, no, that never happened. Lawbreakers. Remember that game? Mm-hmm. Exclusive for PlayStation. That failed so hard that Boss Key, Cliffy B studio, guess what happened to that studio? A little bit worse than what happened to Luminous. They shut down. They shut down that game. They shut down that studio. Sony curse. I'm just saying. The only reason why the studio that made Destruction All-Stars Battle Royale Racing is it's a first-party studio, I believe, right? Now you got me. Now I'm questioning myself. I think it's a first-party studio. If it's not, then they're independent. Then it doesn't matter. They were contracted. So still, but that doesn't make sense though. Well, if they're contracted, then they could just, they get the money. So, yeah, if you're contracted by, like, Sony, Microsoft, whatever, you make a game and it flops, then it's like, whatever. We got paid by you to make the game. We didn't get no bonuses, but okay, we'll still be all right. So, I guess that's all right. But, yeah, there is a Sony curse. I think there's other examples, but I don't even want to go into, right now, I'm very tired. I need to drive. I need to go home. It's going to take me like an hour at least to go home. There's traffic. But y'all don't want to hear about that. But yeah, I mean, this is video games. This is what happens. Although I think Square Enix is a little more they're mean? No, they're not mean. It's just they're more extreme when it comes to like just they don't like Western anything. If it's Western and it fails, done. No second strike, no third strike, first strike, you out. They shut down all their Western stuff, sold them off. Then they try to make one in-house with their Japanese. They try to make a Western RPG with a little bit of that Final Fantasy flavor like what they've been doing. And it's a Western type of game with a Western protagonist from a Western city and a Western British bracelet. And it failed. And they're going to blame it on it being Western, right? That's racist. Square Enix, how you gonna blame it on being how is it being Western a failure? You know what I'm saying? You see how the wires just got all crosses with it, because it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. I mean, it makes sense for Square Enix to just close down stuff because they don't like Western anything, I guess. They should just stick to Final Fantasy. Just make Final Fantasy forever. Make an Octopath Traveler, right? But make it like a Final Fantasy game, right? Like the same, cameras, except have it 8-bit, with the pixel art. That'd be cool. Bring it up a little bit. I mean, it costs more money, but I think people will like that. And I think the thing about that is, it's like Final Fantasy and Octopath and all the other kind of JRPGs that they make. Part of it is nostalgia, and people want to play those older games, but not like with the older performance. They want a new game that tickles that nostalgia funny bone, the nostalgia bone. And that's what those games represent. And also Final Fantasy does to an extent, because it's literally a remake, but the new one was it 16? 15? 16. I've been hearing some stuff about it, like it's like I think the combat system is more akin to, I guess 15 and 7 remake, and it's not turn-based. Mosquitoes, it's not turn-based, so they're changing that. But still, is it still considered a JRPG, or is it more westernized, or is it the character design, or is it the stories and how the stories are kind of put together, or is it the setting? What makes it a JRPG? Why are they so upset about that terminology? And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. I think their problem is that, what their problem with that is, I'm kind of conflating both topics, is that games like Fallout or Skyrim, they're not JRPGs. They're Western RPGs. They're not, we don't call them WRPGs. We just call them RPGs, or we call them Western RPGs, right? And I think they see the success of Skyrim in particular, and they're like, why? It's because our game is labeled as a JRPG, we can't have this type of success, I think. And so if you notice, their games are trying to be more westernized, less turn-based, less JRPG-ish, And that's on purpose. That's for a reason, because they don't want that nomenclature, I guess, and they want to make more money. They want that Skyrim dollars. But they're not making Skyrim, and that's the problem. They're making Final Fantasy. And as long as they're making Final Fantasy, it's always going to be a JRPG, because it's associated with the name, period. And, that's it. Change the name. And, I don't know. Make a Skyrim clone and see, you know what? It's still going to be JRPG, because like all the like Genshin Impact and all these like kind of open world type of they still like considered JRPGs, even though they're like MMOs or whatever, It's because they're Japanese flavored. I don't know how to say it. Is that racist? I don't think that was racist. But like you look at the not the animation, but you look at the character design. It's like, oh, that's like anime, Japanese. You can't get away from it. So whatever, it's clever. I don't know, man. It's just something that they people want to complain about and talk about. I had to put my 2 cents in because I don't know. It's kind of funny to me. That's all. But anyway, in the comments. Hit it up in the comments. Let me know if you think it's racist, JRPG, the terminology, and how do you feel about Square Enix just kind of closing up shop on these studios because the game isn't like super big or super, They failed to meet expectations, so close. But you notice that you never really see the numbers on Final Fantasy, and if they ever fail, they're never going to close those studios. So it's a little bit of hypocrisy there. So I don't know, we'll see. Appreciate y'all once again, and I'll talk to y'all on the next one. Tilt the wave.